Jake Gallen's guest list is, after 181 weeks, we'll be hitting the pause button at least on a regular basis so that I could really focus and double down on my entrepreneurial aspirations to build a very lasting product that provides value to everyone in the crypto industry and then eventually outside of it. Hi, friends. It's been quite a while since we've done one of these episodes, a solo session with your host, Jake Gallen. It's been about a year, and over the last 3 or 4 times that we've done one of these, it's generally come with some important information. So I do have some very forward thoughts and some changes that are happening and kind of an outlook and also some reflections. And what I mean by that is 1,266 days ago, which is also 180 weeks and 6 days, I started my first podcast episode, a solo one where I spoke into the camera. This was 2 weeks into the pandemic of being locked down at home, and I kind of forecasted my expectations of what I wanted at the time. It was called the guest list to be where I wanted to go. I felt like it was something that was very important. And now fast track today to October 17th, 2023. We've put 294 episodes under my belt. This spans everywhere from the beginning early days of just Las Vegas-based guests through Zoom, which then morphed into in-person shows, and the first 170 episodes were all Vegas-based guests. Most of them being in person in this room where you could see sitting behind me, a little bit of a different setup, but I've evolved over time, my conversations, who they're with, the style, my expertise, my understanding of how to be an efficient podcaster, and my professional life has changed as well, romantic life. There's been so many things that have happened because of this podcast over the last 3 years. You know, I could sit here and go on and on and on, but I sit here and tell you, with 69,900 audio downloads and another 100,000 views on YouTube, and then countless views on Twitter, where I also post these as well. You know, I think you could say the show's been listened to over 200,000 times between X amount of individuals. It's been very, very rewarding. But now I've come in and hit a kind of a crossroad where the show's evolved 3-4 times, and the audience has also evolved and changed over time. Those first shows in person, very organic, very authentic, me building this idea of this entrepreneur that I've always wanted to be post-college, has been fast-tracked because of the show, being able to put myself in front of credible individuals, to understand the way that they approach life, and to adopt some of those principles that I believe will strengthen my fortitude to become a very successful individual in the world that can create lasting value for thousands and hundreds of thousands and maybe millions of people here in the future. And now my crossroad has come into an interesting situation because we've gone from the guest list that was 170 episodes of in-person, then it moved to Jake Gallen's guest list, or was it Jake Gallen's presents the guest list. And then it moved into Jake Gallen podcast, which was when I moved into crypto towards the end of 2021 and interviewed historical NFT individuals and teams and creators and investors predominantly, and did that for about a year. And that really propelled my crypto brand to become, somebody of knowledge, insight, and credibility within the space. And after that year and exhausted the majority of the individuals that exist in the historical NFT space, I moved it to become Bitcoin and ordinal based. You're kind of moving from this smaller category to a little bit of a more broader category with ordinals, and have been doing that now for close to a year. And now I've kind of hit the end of that ordinals crossroad and to where it has to become something much larger, right? To then move into either broader NFTs, broader crypto, or even outside of cryptocurrency, to then bring it all full circle back to entrepreneurship, but not just entrepreneurship in Vegas, entrepreneurship in general and just my interests. The show's always been more of a, as you call it, like an audio Bible or like an audio journal of me having conversations and reflections with just very interesting people, depending on what I'm doing in life, whether it was Vegas and my beginning entrepreneurship to native research and trying to build a local crypto scene to then becoming a professional crypto trader, NFT trader, selling stuff at auction houses, to then being hired and brought on as a partner at Emblem Vault, where I currently am today. And during the beginning of this year in January, one of my partners and I, Adam McBride, who I'd met on my podcast actually before we both started working at Emblem Vault, we started our own show, and you could see it on this feed as well, whether you're watching this on YouTube or if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you see the other show called The Vault. And The Vault has assisted us and has begun to grow as well to become a broader co-hosted show for conversation. It's not as intimate as a podcast is. It does have the audio and video component, but it is hosted live and it is on Spaces. So it's a little bit of a different dynamic, but we're also interviewing that broader category, crypto-based entrepreneurs and creators and influencers and investors and collectors. So you could see I'm kind of in a confliction now where my podcast show and the Vault show are both going after the same category. And we're doing the Vault now 3 days a week. And then also on top of that, professionally, a lot of things have happened at Emblem Vault, some things that will be told here in the next few months. So if you're listening to this before those announcements happen, maybe you're getting a little bit of alpha. And so I've had to think about this very deeply. I've posted at least one episode every week since we started for 181 weeks. It's been part of my identity. It's a very integral part of it. And I really am very firm when I say that I would not be here today if it wasn't for the podcast, of putting myself in front of 294 individuals in intimate conversations to become friends, and then all of the auxiliary benefits that have come to it. And so I've decided to pause the podcast moving forward and to focus all of my attentions to the Vault with Adam McBride, and in a professional sense, really double and triple down on Emblem Vault and what we believe there. We have a lot of very, very important things happening. I feel like my entire life has really culminated up into this moment, sitting here at 31 years old. I've been out of college now since 2016, so 7 years out of college, and I get to be in a leadership position, and I get to in the crypto industry. We're making strides with Emblem Vault, and I believe that company is a $1 billion company, as I had told Shannon, Eric, and Adam and the team when I first got hired, that's what I believed, and that is my very intentions to build that. So, it feels sad, but I know that, the show is not over. This is more of me moving from content to product, where the content that I produce will mostly be under the Emblem Vault brand, but it doesn't dissuade my identity, my credibility, or the things that we've, achieved here over the last 3.5 years. I do hope, and I sit here smiling because I know one day in the future, whether that future is 2 weeks, 2 years, 10 years, 2 months, it really depends when I start the podcast back up and we continue on from episode 295 or whatever episode number it is, because I do plan to host some episodes. It just won't be weekly because I'll be putting all my effort into the 3 days a week or more with the Vault, where professionally and ideally is a little bit more in line, where the podcast to me has just always been more of a passion project where I just get to talk with people that I'm just generally interested in, and it's helped me grow my professional career. But now I sit here at that crossroad where that moment has finally arrived. It took 3.5 years to get to this from where the show started, plus the many years before that, the 3.5 years before that, and then in college and just building it up. And, selfishly, I want to continue doing it, but it just doesn't make sense right now to spend more time with conflicting guests and conflicting opportunities, where my heart and soul right now needs to be with Emblem Vault and with the show. And that's where all my attention needs to go. And so that's what's happening. So episode 294 with Atomicals is the last episode. I'm recording this on October 17th. This will be released next week. And there will probably be, again, some episodes. I have obligations with top tech shows and different, kind of like installations and different requests where people just want me to come, be that podcaster or be that person to interview people. And I will gladly do that. But the interview shows will be moved to the vault for the near term. And I know the next time I start this up, I have a very, very, strong feeling about this, that it'll probably be outside of crypto, whether I am still in the crypto industry or not. Probably I intend to stand the long, mid to long term at Emblem Vault building this product. So I plan to be there for a long time. But I do have aspirations outside of crypto, but right now that's just not the time. And I do believe that podcasting is one of the most important things that I've ever done in my life. But now there's some more important things to happen, probably by the end of this year of 2023, maybe in the beginning of 2024. And you guys will hear that and see that. And then maybe this will make a little bit more sense at the time. But Jake Gallen's guest list is, after 181 weeks, we'll be hitting the pause button, at least on a regular basis, so that I could really focus and double down on my entrepreneurial aspirations to build, a very lasting product that provides value to everyone in the crypto industry and then eventually outside of it. And we believe in that. And I've had, very, very strong support network over the years that's really been helping me become the best person that I can. Adam at Emblem has helped me be, very even keel. Shannon's taught me a lot about the dev side of crypto works and being very patient, one of the most brilliant people I know. And Eric's taught me a lot about how the VC and capital world works within the crypto space. And then of course, all of my other friends, that I've met along the way and beforehand, who's really supported, this podcasting journey. It feels like a little bit of a, a sad moment, maybe a dull moment. Cause I know a lot of you guys listen to this, right? If you're saying 200,000 listens across 260 episodes. So you're saying, maybe 800 to 900 unique listens per show across all of the different platforms. It's not a crazy amount. It's not something that's going to get me paid for sponsorships. So we have tried that with Manscaped back in the day. But it's enough for people to listen and get a lot of information. So I still will be posting the Vault episodes on this show. I will probably do a little bit more of this like audio journal style. I do like doing these kind of things, just little updates and thoughts where I can just speak my mind without the live audience. The shows will still continually be uploaded on YouTube as well for the Vault. And we'll see where we go from there. There's 52 episodes. Today we just recorded episode 52 of the Vault. And who knows where that can go. But, it's been very fun to co-host that together with Adam and Bunzi and Chris and Dogfather and all these other people who are joining. Feels more like a hangout. Maybe it takes a little bit away from my personal interests and, some of my side, quote unquote, side missions that I like to do. But I am engaging. The Twitter account's growing, Emblem's growing. It's all kind of working together. And selfishly, if I continued the podcast, Jake Gallen's guest list, now in its current form as a crypto-based show, there's just too much confliction. And professionally, I just had to take a really honest, deep look inward and realize what is really going on here. So that's what's going to be happening. I feel very comfortable about the decision now. I considered getting it to episode 300 just for the numbers. The people I'd spoke with about this, maybe 4 or 5 different people outside of Emblem and Emblem about pausing the show. Everyone seemed to be really sad. A lot of people questioned and asked why, but after the explanation, it really made sense. And they said to get to 300 episodes, but honestly, I've made the decision and I made a promise to myself during this entrepreneurial journey that if I ever make a decision and I feel comfortable about it, I need to go with it and not continue it for arbitrary reasons, like those extra 6 episodes to get to number 300. Like, what does that even mean if I'm already kind of checked out? There's no point to stay into something if you're checked out, whether that's a romantic relationship, a business partnership, a continuation with some creative outlets. It's important to really stay firm, no matter why you may want to continue for that extra cash revenue or, that relationship that, is fizzling out. I've made a lot of hard decisions in my life. And, when I do produce my book, Vegas Native, which I've started up again, kind of on the side, that's another reason the book has been something I've started on and off now for 8 years and something I've thought about since high school. You'll understand more of some of the things I've never spoken about publicly that's had a big impact on my life story. And I've been saving that for that book, for that to happen. And it'll make sense at the end of the day. But, to wrap it up, moving forward, all my time is going to be spent on Emblem Vault. I've never felt more confident about something than I have with this product. I do feel like my whole entire life is really built up to this. All of the skills that I've learned, the people that I've met, the wild financial losses and gains over the last 7 years or so since being in the crypto industry. It's hardened me to be firm with where we're going, and I have the strongest foundation ever. Professionally, I have a good support group, good friends, and I'm ready for this change after 3.5 years of pretty much devout consistency, right? 180 weeks, 294 episodes, see that averages over 1 per week. And getting guests sometimes is a little bit difficult in crypto in terms of individual podcasts. It just takes a lot more time requirement than to do space. But I do believe the conversations that come from podcasts are of much higher quality in multiple domains than what happens through spaces, which is okay. But we gotta move on and know that nothing's permanent. This show is permanent. This podcast, this RSS feed that this episode is uploaded to is going to be something that is going to exist forever. And I'm going to upload to that RSS feed until a better product populates, maybe in the VR world or AR world or wherever we're really going. But all of those episodes will be there. So I appreciate everyone who's really been along this journey with me over the last 3.5 years, whether you've been here since the beginning or you just found this episode scrolling through my YouTube channel, or you came in during one of these other phases, the Vegas phase, the historical NFT phase, or the kind of ordinals Bitcoin phase. It's always continually evolved from smaller niches into much larger ones. And I do really intend for that to happen as this show then expands whenever it is restarted and however long it is. And we will have this episode, something like this, when it does return, to show you what the intentions of it is. And I am, in debt for everyone who's been here along the way. Always feel free to reach out to me, whether I'm on Twitter most active, but you could find me on Discord, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. If you have my phone number, you could text me, or if you're on Vegas, hit me up. As I always say, that's the best way to make connections. But without beating too much of a dead horse, I look very forward to that day in the future that's past October 17, 2023, which we're recording today, to where I get to come before you and say that the show is starting and that this is the new direction that we're going, and kind of the larger aspirations, just as I had said in episode 0 in the same format on April 14th, 2020, within just a few weeks of the pandemic, right? That was one of the very low points in my life. We are in a bear market in crypto, but I'm in a much better place, much better position. And now it's really time to turn it up a notch and really change the world. So, appreciate everyone. And until then, this is Jake signing out on Jake Gallen's guest list episode, right after episode 294. Looking forward to episode 295 or whatever that is during the next vision. And until then, guys, much love, much appreciation, and we'll see you on the other side.